With the availability of AI writing assistants for students, if they're learning English as a foreign language and we want to have security or we want to police their writing to find out what their really natural level of English is, there aren't very many ways to do it successfully unless the writing is directly supervised. So, I mean, one way of checking for AI writing is that there are AI check web pages that exist, but they're often outdated and are soon outdated as the AI increases dramatically. If we're using Moodle, there are we can do extra restrictions on attempts, browser security, and choose full screen pop-up with some JavaScript security. And that will at least enable copy and paste to be cut off. Also in Moodle, there's a safe exam browser that can be downloaded by the user, by the student, and the quiz can be set so that it can only be taken in the safe exam browser. And the quiz would essentially be an essay students had to write in their original English. Now, basically, if we want to have students write something in their original English, we should really think about why. And it's either going to be because it's a high stakes test, like, for example, the TOEIC or the ACAN writing test, or it's because we want to find out how they're doing and find out their strong points and weak points and what we have to teach. So it's really important to take a sample of students' original writing on an essay topic. And usually I would suggest it would be done in CEFR A2 if your students are intermediate. Something about their experience, for example, about their families or about their high school or something like that, and compare it with written work that is not supposed to be done with AI assistance if there's a problem. But I think the easiest way to police, to document security and examination is to ask the students to write something in their original English without AI assistance. You can document that student's work as an original by having them submit a copy of that assumedly original essay to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to do a grammar and mistake check of the original essay. Then students would submit the GPT output to the teacher. The ChatGPT output would include the original work that they copied and pasted into ChatGPT and ChatGPT's criticism and suggestions about the original work. Now, if ChatGPT doesn't give them very many suggestions at all, it's probably not original. And you can compare the work that the students did submit with the sample of the work you took in the beginning of the semester to police that even stronger. Again, this is just a way, there's two benefits to this. One benefit is that you can check to see the student's process. What was their original writing and what was their AI-assisted writing with ChatGPT? And it also gives the students feedback. ChatGPT can give very, very detailed feedback depending on the prompts that you use for it. So let's take a look at how that might come about. So if we open ChatGPT, let's try this. List and explain as prompts to check the student essay. List and explain each grammar and spelling mistake in the student essay below and give advice on how to improve the content and style of the essay. And I'm going to copy the essay, paste it into ChatGPT, and hope for the best. Now, the results of a prompt in ChatGPT are not always consistent. They may be printed out in a different way depending on something, I don't know what. Here's a list of the grammar and spelling mistakes in the student essay. And you can see it goes through the essay and it lists up the mistakes and gives an example of how they can be corrected. In some cases, this is wrong. Number 2 should not be an old sister, it should be an older sister. But ChatGPT didn't pick that up. Spelling mistake. Beautiful is misspelled. Missing a space. Three years older than I. In seldom is not a word. It's probably elementary school. Her face is not similar to mine. Tagged as an incorrect preposition usage. She has been living in Yokohama. Second high school student is actually wrong. It should be second year high school student. It's not just a spelling mistake. We won't eat various Chinese foods. It should be want instead of won't. Haven't seldom time. Misspelled words. It should be haven't had much time. So I think I heard English incorrect word order. It should be, so I think English is hard. Well, nothing is. And if we do this again, it starts from the beginning. So basically what I've done here is I've come up with a generic prompt to check students' essays. List and explain each grammar and spelling mistake in the student essay below, and give advice how to improve the content and style of the essay. And basically, I've just copied the essay and pasted it below here. So what will ChatGPT do? It'll report there were several grammar and spelling mistakes in the student essay. Here are the mistakes and suggestions for improvement. And it's coming up with a lot of very, very detailed mistakes. Now, in the pre-AI days, before Google Translate, DeepL, and ChatGPT, I would probably find these 6 mistakes by searching and by writing a comment by hand. These mistakes, one good thing about this exercise is that it shows the students the mistakes they've made, and they can also just use that to learn from. If they spend the time to read this carefully and and rewrite from these suggestions. It also gives some global feedback on style or content. To improve the content and style of the essay, the student can consider adding more details and descriptions to make the essay more interesting and engaging. They can also organize their ideas into clear paragraphs and use transitions to connect their thoughts. Additionally, the student can benefit from using a grammar checker or asking a friend or teacher to review their essay to catch any mistakes that they might have missed. Now, this is basically just so general. I'm not sure about the value of the advice on style, but the individual points could be useful to the student if they pay attention to them. So why am I suggesting this? I'm suggesting this because this is a way primarily to police the student's writing, to establish that here the student did write something in their original English. And in general, teaching students after a few weeks, we get a sense of how good their original English is if we have a sample that's done in a supervised situation where we know they couldn't use AI. Now, this ChatGPT doesn't cover everything, doesn't catch everything. But if asking the student to submit, starting from here, including their original essay, and also copying and pasting all of ChatGPT's suggestions into a document submitted to the teacher is probably going to be a valuable way to do two things. One thing, to assure with a high degree of certainty that this is the student's real English ability. And also offer the student some critiques of their mistakes and their style that the teacher probably would not have time for. If I were to do this same thing, it would probably take me 30 or 40 minutes, whereas ChatGPT can do it in 2 or 3 minutes. And the whole process is not teacher-centered, it's student-centered. Now, again, after going through and reviewing all of these suggestions, we might suggest that the student go back to the original document and rewrite it. Now, I'm using Google Documents, and I can check how the student has rewritten, has changed the document by going to version history. Right now, I just copied and pasted this, so it's from a blank sheet. But if a student slowly rewrites a document, we can see here the details of most of the changes they've made. You know, again, this is not really, it's not really important to check that the student's changes are correct. It's more important to get a sense of the student's flow of work. This should not be copied and pasted, where the original document the student wrote and the next change in the document is 100% completely changed by one copy and paste. We should see, for example, that the student looked at some of these things and like changed always go to always space go. And Google Documents version history, again, is not perfect, but it's a little bit more of a backup if we want to consider policing and training our students to write things in their original English. So there are other ways too of dealing with this security and policing issue, but I think that this has not only a policing benefit, but it also has a learning benefit for the students.